We're going to move on to GAA next. We've got to speak with Michael Meehan in a moment. But first, here's James Horan's post-match thoughts from the game between Mayo and Galway at Castlebar.
When you look at it in the overall almost 80 minutes of the game, it wasn't actually a game high in quality, James.
No, both teams will look back on that or do the video analysis on it and look at some of the basic mistakes that both teams made today. I think was phenomenal for a championship game. It was so poor. Some of the fundamentals, some of the hand passing, some of the movement, some of the shot selection. On both sides, how many did we see into the goalie's hands? How many did we see bouncing actually before it got to the goal from shots that were taken? Some of the free kicks. Kevin Mack, who had a very, very good game, missed 2 crucial frees from close in. All that kind of Andy Moran, who you'd bank all day. Taking rash shots, and as I said, both sides on it. Shane Walsh got a couple of very good points, but I'd say he had 3 maybe alone into the goalie's hand. So all that added up, and the way Galway set up, I suppose, and the way Mayo counter set up as a result of that led to this stalemate of a game. Whatever way the game went, you can only be positive for Galway, and particularly the way, as I said, their subs played and the guys that came on, the changes that they made, things that they did. It's only positive for that Galway team. I think they do have individual players that can change things when things aren't going for them. The Shane Walsh, sometimes he'd drive you crazy with what he does, but then times his brilliance is unbelievable. I think Ian Burke when he came on, I think Eamon Brannigan when he gets to full fitness, they're huge players. But Peter Cook and Duggan, Tom Flynn in the middle of the field have filled out. They've a couple of years conditioning under them. They look really strong. And they have a defensive setup that's did Mayo have any real goal chances there? Was there anything, can you even remember one?
Pretty damning stuff from James Horn at the end, really, from a Mayo perspective. And yet, it's a kick of a ball at the end of the game that they played the entire second half with 14 men.
Yeah, for sure. And I think in the analysis of this, if we're going to accept that being damning of Mayo is acceptable, which I think it is, then we also have to give Galway great credit. It is possible to think that yesterday was a bad game for the neutral, but also accept that Galway have seriously improved their All-Ireland credentials as a result of yesterday's performance because of the 3 debutants putting in some brilliant performances yesterday, because of the people they brought off the bench. Galway have, I think, cemented what a lot of people believed before yesterday, which is that these guys can make a serious challenge in an All-Ireland semi-final.
Well, it's the 13th of May as well. They're going to get much better. Both teams will get slicker, just more used to the pace of championship football over the next while. I wondered if Galway would have actually been okay through the back door, that a bunch of games for these young players, the way the league worked out for them and the way they improved across the course of the league actually wouldn't have been a disaster for them if they lost. And yet the negativity surrounding the team if they'd lost that game would have been absolutely huge because, we've seen this before. And I think that would have been an overreaction. With Mayo going through the back door, it's impossible to know, because at what point does Lee Keaton come back into consideration, and how fit or otherwise is Cillian O'Connor? Is he going to be fit the next day to start, or do you get 40 minutes out of him the next day?
Not to mention the fact that they'll definitely be missing Diarmid, which is obviously a massive blow. He was going pretty well yesterday before he got sent off. Just on that, I think in terms of Galway, I don't think they're going to be too worried about missing out on what Mayo are going to gain through the back door, because you would suspect it's going to be a Galway-Roscommon Connacht final, and we know how they've gone for the last couple of years. They're going to be really tough games, and of course Super 8. I mean, they're going to have plenty of games under their belt. I think this is the ideal way to go for Kevin Walsh's side.
Yeah.
I think we can hear from Sean Armstrong now, can we?
Yeah, we'll bring Sean Armstrong. You were talking to him after the game?
I was indeed, yeah. Let's have a listen to that. Here with Golf Weekly's #1 fan, Sean Armstrong. Sean Armstrong, a big congratulations. What was the key to that result today? Because it was a very tight one.
It was an extremely tight one. It could have gone either way there at the end, I suppose. Keeping to the process, I know it's such a cliche now at this stage, but I suppose we were lucky we had a kind of +1 with them going down to 14 men. I was just, obviously they were packed out to defence, so I was just bringing on fresh legs there, lads, trying to get lads running in behind their defensive line, and I suppose Berkey came on there with his quick hands, and Sean Kelly and Brannigan and Heaney cutting through the line there seemed to work for us. But just trying to stick to the game plan, and thankfully pulled through in the end.
Because once Mayo went down to 14 men, they got a lot of men behind the ball in the second half. It obviously tightened up a lot, so scores were at a premium.
Yeah, absolutely. They went blanket, I think 13, 12 lads behind the ball all the time, so it required us to be extremely patient and trying to pick out the right passes, and we kind of shot under a bit of pressure, maybe gave away a couple of balls, and I suppose we wouldn't have been too proud of that. I'm sure we'll analyse that during the week. But in credit to again the bench, the boys, the impact lads that came on there. They were the winning the game, and that's just a credit to the squad that we have at the minute. There's lads absolutely champing at the bit to try and get into the starting 15 and not starting 15 trying to get on the 26, and it's fantastic to have it that way. And you go out there and you run yourself into the ground for whatever it is, 50, 60 minutes, and you let the boys come in and finish off the job, and that's what it's there. That's why you have a good panel. Yeah, you were speaking about that in the build-up to the game, about whatever you were being asked to do, you were happy to do, and today it was whatever 50 minutes, and then you got taken off. Like, it just seems that everybody is so content in this Galway squad at the moment. Content is probably the wrong word, because you're obviously striving for higher things, but it's as good a setup as a lot of you have ever been in. Yeah, like there's a flip of a coin between lads getting in and getting out, and Kevin has alluded to that many times, and it comes down to which way we want to play. Looking at the opposition, which team he's going to throw out, and I think lads in there, I think we're around long enough, and I think lads are all working towards a common goal. And if Kevin puts in that 15, well, that's the best 15 he thinks he can best win, and we just give the boys support, and you go in and you do your job. And I suppose lads are obviously, there's massive competition at training for places, and that's just driving everyone on, and that's what you need. Look, if you look at Mayo and look at Dublin for the last 5, 6, 7 years, it's just that they've a savage squad. So at training is going to be just in higher intensity with lads trying to get onto the team. I'd say Kevin is delighted this evening, because not only have you avoided that kind of snake pit of a first round qualifier, not only have you beaten Mayo, but there's also elements of imperfection about the performance, and training will be tough for the next couple of weeks, that's for sure. Yeah, there you go. Like, it's blank canvas once again when you go back. We're back to the close down next week, and then after that we have 2 weeks to get right. But that's it. It's a blank canvas, and everyone will be absolutely coming back to training buzzing. There's himself trying to come back buzzing and mad to get going and mad to get on the team, and that's just it's just a great old atmosphere at the minute of training. And myself, I'm obviously, the legs are dwindling a bit, but I'm happy to play any part. I'm just happy to be involved and really enjoying my football, and I think most of the lads inside the dressing room feel the exact same way. Yeah, finally, just how excited are you now? Like, how much are you looking forward to whatever happens over these next 6-8 weeks? Yeah, like I'm proud of myself, disappointed with my own performance, so I'm kind of looking like hopefully get back into the camp as quickly as can and hit the ground running, and that's what I'd be concerned about. But yeah, I really like Sligo. Obviously are going to be tough to beat. I'd say watch a bit of their game there and against London, and they went very blanket, I'd say, just getting ready for whoever was the winners here today, so it's going to be very tough to break them down. We've been working on our consistency, not getting too complacent, so we'll be just looking no further than Sligo game, and definitely concentrate on that and trying to get a win there and then move on to a Connacht final please God. It's Sean Armstrong speaking to Owen yesterday. Michael Meehan is on the line. Michael, good morning to you.
Morning, Ger. Morning, Owen.
So Sean Armstrong talking there, like, you can see the benefit of having somebody with his experience in the setup and in the squad, and it's nice for Kevin Walsh to have somebody who has been through the road that Sean Armstrong has been through and seen the evolution of Galway teams in the past, and who can kind of keep lads' feet on the ground, but also just go, yeah, look, this is as good a setup as we've ever had.
Yeah, once bitten, twice shy. I think, Sean has been through a lot over the years with Galway, and a few others like him, Paul Conroy and Gareth Bradshaw, and the lads kind of heading for the wrong side of 30. But he's vital, in the setup to Kevin and what he's trying to do for the reasons that you've said, and just giving a good mix, because there's a raft of new players coming through, even lads who were debutants yesterday. So there's certain pluses and minuses to having a young, brash 19, 20, 21-year-old on your team, but if you can get a balance between the energy that they bring and just keeping the feet on the ground as well, that's what's needed to ultimately progress in any championship.
There was a weird backlash against the quality of football for a match that was played on the 13th of May with serious consequences for the losers, and again that ultimately the shape of it was largely dictated by the fact that Mayo went down to 14 men very early on. It's like I don't really understand why everybody hated that game so much.
Yeah, to be fair, I think the card should have been well marked as to what to expect yesterday, based on the meetings that Galway and Mayo had over the last number of years in league and championship. So there was already a huge amount of riding on the game. It was nearly a throwback to 1997, 1998. First round, essentially knockout. I know it's not that ultimate, but it had that feel to it because it was coming so early in the calendar. a lot of hype and expectation around the fixture, nationally, the first big game, and on the back of what Galway had done in the league. So there was a lot of focus and attention on it, but there was probably a hope that it would live up to a real opening of the championship. Now, it didn't deliver on that, but it served up, an interesting encounter. Just two teams that know each other too well, and that were just, trying to really just steal an inch and just get over the line at the end of the game, and it fell Galway's way with the goal in the end.
Yeah, for sure. And you have to give Galway credit for the defensive structure that they've set up with this year. And I'm wondering if you're surprised with actually how well they've bedded right into this structure, because at times yesterday it was almost zonal marking and they were executing it very, very well.
Yeah, Owen, I'm not overly surprised, because it's something that it's been going on for longer than this year. It's been brought to a new level this year, but it's certainly it's nothing new to what Galway would have tried over the last number of years. But it's working better. Some personnel involved are different. New coaches involved, maybe tweaking it as well. So I think it's the work of a number of years that's coming through for Galway, and it's worked well through the league. It's worked well over the last 3 years against Mayo in championship matches. It hasn't always worked well when we've got to Croke Park. So I know we're a long way from that stage yet, but ultimately I'm sure that's where this Galway team want to go to and to be successful in. So there's bigger challenges that lie ahead if they can get to the latter stages.
The one thing as well that was definitely new for Galway yesterday was just in terms of the debutants, like the likes of Kieran Duggan was unbelievably impressive yesterday. Look at Sean Andy as well, and look at Barry McHugh, like two unbelievable frees from McHugh in the first half. But Duggan in particular, I was incredibly impressed with how he just bedded in, and if you didn't know any player on the pitch, you would think to yourself, this guy's been a talismanic championship midfielder for the last 5 to 7 years.
Yeah, he had a super game all throughout, and especially towards the end, he was just still full of running. He was running the legs off Jamie O'Shea. They brought on Keane Hanley, who's home from Australia, to try and counteract him in the middle, but a lot of the damage was done. And yeah, he had a dream debut. He's been a super club player on the local circuit for a number of years, and people were delighted to see him go in and get his chance this year. And he really bedded into the team, and he's brought a new dimension to Galway. For a long time, I suppose we haven't been overly. We haven't had competition, in the middle of the field. So now, we have Paul Conroy, Tom Flynn, Kieran Duggan, and Peter Cook there this year. So they're all pushing each other on. And again, that has to help in the squad matches and the training that they're getting in. And Barry McHugh was excellent from frees, as is his forte, and we had, Sean Kelly come in off the bench as well. He made a major impact in the final stages, another debutant in his first season. So that was a big thing for Galway this year. They've added maybe at least 3 or 4 players who are straight in and making an impact straight away, which is brilliant to see. And I'd say Mayo probably would only have loved to have that impact off their bench, or maybe from new lads into the panel, but they just didn't seem to have that yesterday.
Sean Kelly's energy, okay, obviously he comes on and fists the point with his first touch, but he's actually also back making tackles in the full back line about 3 minutes later. So all action, and you could kind of see that energy and pace in the team was throughout the team.
It was, and the balance, it worked well in terms of Sean Kelly coming in at the end, Ian Burke coming in at the end, Eamon Brannigan. The level didn't drop, and or maybe it's comparable to Mayo's levels, but Galway nearly looked to be more mobile for the latter stages across the pitch. Maybe that's just directly in comparison to their opponent, but certainly there'll be an element of that whereby a lot of teams now try and maintain a steady rate through a match, be it with the lads that they bring on. They don't necessarily dip in form or strength at all, and that certainly was the case yesterday for Galway. And the next 3 weeks are going to be interesting for a lot of these lads who, like Sean Kelly, played a lot of league and played very well in a lot of league matches, as did Eamon Brannigan, who was just recovering from injury. So those 2 lads are going to be looking to get their places back. And like Ian Burke, who was away with Corofin and had a phenomenal year there, really made the difference at the latter stages, was handling every ball, and he's a nightmare to mark. We saw what he can do against Kerry in Croke Park last year, and I think a lot of people in Galway are excited about seeing him maybe from the start, or certainly making big contributions like he did.
Yeah, it feels like there's a bandwagon rolling now. I don't know if you feel that, but certainly we've kind of seen this team come through Division 2 to winning Division 2 to getting through to the league final, and there's been clear progression. And okay, so what happened in Croke Park last year is probably still a memory for people, but days like yesterday begin to give everybody around the setup and then the supporters confidence.
I suppose it does. Now, if that game yesterday, I mean, looking back on it, where Galway clear winners are on they weren't really. You know, it took that goal. Without that goal, I just, you know, you wouldn't know what could have happened there. So I'm kind of, yesterday I was cautious going into the game in terms of Mayo were so quiet and no one really knew what to expect from them. Was there going to be a really big backlash? Their cause wasn't helped with the red card, but unfortunately it was justifiable in my opinion, and you know, that put them under pressure for a lot of the game again, just which has been the story for the last number of fixtures between the two teams. So overall, yeah, lads, people are getting excited, but I think it's a timely reminder for Galway, just that if you're not on your game, you know, you will be beaten, and you know, that's something that this team needs to learn from, and I think the challenge for them is to just deliver to a certain standard every day that they go out, and not to dip below it, because like we got clipped in a Connacht final last year by Roscommon, and deservedly so, having beaten Mayo. So, you know, I would have been disappointed with that, and disappointed to have let the performance drop to such a low. So, like, that's the new challenge for this Galway team, you know, to bring that consistency through into the championship. They brought it through the leagues last year and this year to a certain extent, but how we've fallen off into the championship in the latter stages, you know, with blips. And you know, if they want to go to the latter stages, you know, you can't allow that to happen anymore.
Yeah, after about 20 minutes into yesterday's game, Michael, I thought we'd be talking all morning about Damien Comer, because he seemed to have got the better of Chris Barrett after a while, but then obviously the red card changes the game entirely, and once Mayo bring bodies behind the ball, Comer's influence lessens a little bit. But if we judge it in the first 28 minutes of the game, before Diarmuid O'Connor gets sent off, Chris Barrett wins the first couple of balls, Damien Comer starts to go a little bit deeper, gets his hands on a bit more ball, and then kicks 2 great points from play. He wins a couple of frees as well, as far as I recall. During that moment, I saw Keith Higgins was almost being used as a sweeper by Mayo, and I was wondering why Mayo just didn't take Higgins straight away and put him on Comer and double mark him, because that seems to be the way to stop Damien Comer, potentially, not definitely, but it seems like Comer, 15 against 15 in Croke Park, could be an all-star form.
Yeah, he showed... He had a great first half yesterday. He was well wrapped up in the second, but you know, the game completely changed with Mayo putting everyone back in the second half. So, you know, it's a nightmare scenario for a lot of forwards anymore of the modern day football. And we saw in Croke Park what you're talking about, Owen. Just he cut loose on Philly McMahon a couple of times, and you know, looked really, really good, and he can score off left and right. So for Damien, yeah, he's a huge asset, and it's just to get the balance right. You know, it's a very high-intensity game that he plays, and you know, he just needs to find a balance for himself, and I think the team need to find a balance to integrate him into play, you know, more consistently. And as much as anything, like, he doesn't have to be the go-to man for all the scores. You know, he's going to draw the Keith Higgins, the extra sweepers in on top of him, and that's the opportunity. If Galway can just structure that, they get a couple more people flying by him a little bit closer as an option, and that's how, you know, we've seen it in the past. Classic Donegal, and over the last few years, you know, long ball into Michael Murphy and he pops it off, you know, to someone flying off the shoulder, and it's a goal. And I know Galway, we were on the end of that a couple of times in an All-Ireland quarter-final, certainly once. So he has a huge role to play as captain for the team as well, and just with the way he often spends time further out the pitch as part of the team play, and that's, I suppose, as a fan, I'd probably love to see him much closer to goal for the 70 minutes. But you know, there's certain times when he has to work back, and maybe he's often lined up against one of the main men for the opponent in the league. He seemed to mark Aidan O'Shea a lot early on. Just from a physicality point of view, he was probably one of the main Galway players who could deal with that. Now, they didn't have to go there with that tactic yesterday, but you know, Damien will do what he's asked to do for the group, and I'm looking forward to seeing him closer to goal more often than not. And you know, with Sean Armstrong, with Ian Burke in beside him, you know, there's crafty forwards there that if they can get a supply of ball, Galway will create scoring chances. And
just finally, speaking of goals, Johnny Heaney's rocket at the end of the game, a proper goal scorer's finish. A lot of people wondering, Jesus, is he going to tap it over? But it didn't look like he even thought about it.
No, in fairness to Johnny, it was a serious score, and like, he could have been forgiven for tapping it over. I'm not sure. Maybe he had the penalty in mind for Wexford from the night before, where they tapped over the penalty and ended up getting caught in extra time. But Yeah, the run, it was a great move, a couple of quick passes, runs off the shoulder, and just the speed that he came through brought him right in on top of David Clark, and he roofed it. And Johnny can do that. You know, he got a couple of goals against Donegal in Championship last year, and he's a heavy scorer for maybe a wing back or a working wing forward for Galway. So it was never in doubt now, but it was a fantastic finish that made the game for Galway. If there was no goal got there, or even if it was a point, you just don't know what might have happened. The momentum would have swung. Mayo might have worked one more last chance to equalise it and take it to injury time. So it was a crucial goal, and I'm glad he went for it, and I'm glad he took it.
You mentioned the Wexford game the previous night. Do you have a standard, when I have a penalty, I'm going to take the goal, or is it like situational football?
It's situational. In that situation, excuse my overuse of the word situation. I would have communicated with the ref. You know, if I was standing over that, I would have certainly been communicating with the ref. I know I've heard that they communicated with the ref maybe on their kick out 30, 40 seconds earlier, and they deemed play to be up after the shot was taken. But you got to be there talking to the ref, saying what's left. Is there time for a kick out? Inevitably, I think he took the right thing. I think he did the right thing. What would I have done? I don't know. Maybe as a early 20s, I might have went for the goal. As a late 20s, I probably would have tipped it over the bar. So it's a bit unlucky. Possibly something in the back of his mind was the influence that the Laois goalie was having in the game. You know, he was a commanding figure. He was out around the pitch, and you know, there's a little bit of mind games at play there that he just might have felt. You know, this lad is on his game. He's doing something different today, and he just mightn't. I forget who was taking the penalty now, but he might have been put off a little bit by that and just said, look, what's wrong with taking the point here? And 9 times out of 10, it'll work out fine. You'll hold on. Another probably thing he could be disappointed in, that he hadn't everyone right up man mark. And you know, most teams on dead balls that they're taking, that's an opportunity for that team to push right up and squeeze on the kick out that's to come. And you know, there's something that can be learned from that for them going forward, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was Donald Shanley with the penalty. Michael, good stuff this morning. Thanks a million.